Hello again. This morning we fed the sourdough starter and it's been fermenting all day. And as you can see, this is where it was this morning and this is where it is now. Look in there. Look at all those bubbles. It smells nice and sour the way it's supposed to smell. And now we're ready to move to phase two of making this. Remember, I've never done this before. So there's some things that are going to need to be done that I've never done before. So bear with me, but we're going to start the next phase now. The first thing we are going to make, because this will be um, a, almost an enriched dough because it has some other things in it, some milk and some things in it that don't normally go in. We've got some steps we have to take. So the next thing we're going to make is called a sweet starter. And it's going to be mixed in this jar. We're going to mix it up in this jar. So we're going to use our scale and we're going to put the jar on there, zero it out. And the first thing we need to put in the jar is 15 grams of this starter. So that's not very much. So we're going to just put that in, 15 grams. That might be too much right there. Let's see. Yep, that's a little bit too much. See what happens. That is almost, we need just one more little drop. With my nice clean hands. See if that does it. A little bit. Okay, there we go. We're going to put that back in there. And now this can just go into the refrigerator in a little bit for the next time I would like to use starter. So we've got our 15 grams of starter and we're going to add 15 grams of honey. All right. We are also going to add 30 grams of water. Okay. To that, we will add 60 grams of flour. All right. Here we have all the ingredients. 15 grams of starter, 15 grams of honey, 30 grams of water. Okay, and now we're going to stir this until it forms a ball. To make sure all of the flour is incorporated. Everything that should be in there is in. We're going to put just a sprinkle of flour on this mat. We're going to turn this out. It says to make sure we knead it enough that it forms a cohesive ball. Well, it's sticky. That is for sure. Right. It does smell good. It's got honey and sourdough starter. So let's get this all, making sure we've got it all completely incorporated together. Once that's done, then we're going to put it back in this jar, loosely cover it with some parchment paper, and it's going to sit out all night tonight. So look at that. Make sure we've got it all mixed together appropriately. There we go. Look at that. That is called the sweet starter. So it's going to go back in this bowl jar. We're going to put this, and we'll just take this rubber band right here, maybe, and we will just loosely cover that, and it can sit on the stove. There's one more step that we need to do tonight, and I'm going to get the ingredients for that together, and I'll be back with you in just 1 minute. We're ready to take the next step. The next step is something I've never done before. It's called a tongzong. I'm not even sure I'm saying that correctly. I may be butchering it completely. But from what I understand in the research I did and to read about it, it's an Asian method for helping our bread to be as light and airy as it can possibly be. So here we go. We're going to give this a try. The first thing we're going to need is 35 grams of flour. So let's go ahead and get that in our bowl. It's bread flour. We're using bread flour for everything in this recipe. Right, that's 35 grams of bread flour. And to that, every time when I'm using my kitchen scale, and you may already know this, and if you do, please don't, just know that I'm trying to explain it for people who may not use a scale all the time. I put my 35, first of all, when I set my measuring cup on here, I turned on my scale and I zeroed it out so that it wasn't taking into account how much the cup weighed. I put my 35 grams of flour in there. I'm going to zero it out again so that I can do the milk. This is whole milk. I use this milk that comes in a carton and it's shelf stable because I don't use enough milk to keep it from spoiling. It's whole milk. It's perfectly good milk, and I use it when I'm cooking. And I'm going to put in 175 grams. Okay. A little bit too much. It's going to be fine. Now I'm going to stir that together, and then we're going to cook this in the microwave to 150 degrees. It recommends that you put it in the microwave in 30-second increments and measure the temperature after each one until it gets to 150 degrees. At that point, we will cover this and put it in the refrigerator, and it will stay there all night so that we can take the next step in the morning. Apparently, this will thicken and become like a paste, but I'll show you. Never done it before, so we're going to be looking at this together. All right, we'll have to have this spoon and our thermometer, And we're going to walk over to the microwave. We'll turn this on for 30 seconds. I'm going to do this in 30-second increments, and I'll come back when it gets to 150 degrees and show you what it looks like. All right, as you can see on this thermometer, it is up to 150 degrees. And if you can see, it has thickened. It reminds me of a roux that you would make when you're going to make a gravy or something that needs a roux. So it's thickened milk and bread flour. So now we're going to put the lid on here and stick it in the refrigerator, and it will live there all night tonight. The tongzong is going to live in the refrigerator all night. The sweet starter is going to sit out on the stove all night. And tomorrow morning, we'll take the next step. What a journey. I'll talk to you again in the morning. I hope you have a great night, and I hope something sweet is happening to you today.